little enjoy every moment cup today, and my new comfy sweatshirt that I love. I got it in blue and loved it so much that I had to order it in red because I'm at that point in life. The point where when you find a piece of clothing you love, you buy it in every color. Especially the point at which comfort is more important than cuteness. Okay. Today we're going to talk about what I consider to be one of the deepest archetypes. And there's a lot of nuance to this one. At first glance, a lot of you are going to be like, oh, I have this one. And you may have some of it. But what can be confusing about this one is that this is an archetype that we all visit. Every single one of us visits this archetype, most of us on a fairly regular basis. But there's a difference in visiting it cyclically or being it all the time. And it is the archetype of the Hermit. So going into how we all visit this archetype, this is very seasonal. So most of us will notice, even me, who definitely does not have this archetype, most of us will notice that in the colder times, in the winter times, we want to hibernate a little bit. We usually spend more time alone in those months, more time at home, more time kind of creating that cozy, little more solitary life. And we also visit the Hermit when we really need a minute to regroup. We use it in a temporary way. We kind of rent out the archetype when we need to reset ourselves on a deep level. And it's like, okay, when it's really extreme, we may go spend a weekend completely on our own somewhere. If it is just, or sometimes we'll spend an hour like, okay, I need an hour to myself. I need to think. I need to figure out what's going on for me. I need to go inside, right? I need to introvert. Not every introvert has the Hermit. Although I do have to say I've never met a true Hermit archetype who wasn't also an introvert. So, the true Hermit, if it is in your major arcana, you will have spent a good portion of your life alone. Even if you've had a spouse or children, you'll be the mom who spends a lot of time in her bedroom while her kids are playing somewhere. You'll be the spouse who needs time away from your husband or wife to just be by yourself. You may even, if you're married, still take vacations alone. Okay? Typically, a true Hermit will choose a profession where they get to spend a lot of time on their own. And if they don't, for those of you listening that you're like, okay, I'm positive I have Hermit in my major arcana, you will have tried to work at jobs where you have to interact all day, and it will most likely have made you sick. Whether that's physically ill or whether that is just very, very stressed and burned out. So for the true Hermit, interaction with people past a certain point puts them out of balance. Okay? The Hermit, the true Hermit, typically doesn't need to take a lot of vacations to get away. Their idea of vacation will often be like a staycation, where they kind of hole up in their own home. They'll typically even have a favorite place in their home, typically I've never seen any exceptions to this, where that's like their little spot. Their little spot on the couch, their little spot in their bed. They'll have all their supplies, right? They'll have all their books and their vitamins and their treats and their favorite blanket and everything in one spot in their house. Can you start to kind of feel into this archetype? So, right, all of those things are more the neutral pieces of the Hermit archetype. So let's talk about the shadow first on this one. The shadow can get pretty severe. And I have observed that it can be difficult for the Hermit, the true Hermit archetype, to not fall into shadow at least some of the time. So the shadow can be a mistrust of humanity and of people, resistance to getting close to other humans. If a hermit is married to someone who does not have this archetype really at all, it'll typically be something that they've argued over, especially if they're really truly married to an extrovert, because they may not even let their own spouse in close or their own children in close, in the shadow, right? So the hermit in the real deep dark shadow will truly hermit, and this is where we have heard about this archetype in stories. They go live up in the mountains somewhere and hate people and want nothing to do with people and really, really reject society and the collective as a whole with a bitterness. So the alone becomes this kind of battle cry, like, I'm the lone wolf, I don't need anybody. Humanity can screw off, right? That's the deep shadow of the hermit. Sometimes it can go even darker and deeper to where they stop taking care of their environment. They stop taking care of themselves. And they really go downhill quickly. This is what happens when the hermit is not brought into the light at all, and it's like left to run amok, to go unchecked. Now, the light of the hermit is profound. First of all, I want to say that it is intrinsic to our well-being that all of us visit this archetype when we need to. That every one of us is able to recognize when we need to step back from the collective, when we need to step back from society, when we need time away from our loved ones even. When a young mom needs time away from her screaming kids, hermiting can be medicine for every single one of us. Now, for the person who has the archetype of the hermit, the light side of this is, first of all, being very, very self-aware and centered and grounded and honoring how much time you need alone without going to the extreme of separating yourself from your loved ones and from society. The other light of it is the kind of the idea of the bodhisattva, or the person who transmutes negative energy into positive, loving energy for the collective. You can be someone who, a lot of writers hermit, to write beautiful things to then bring out to the collective. So basically, the ultimate light of the hermit, to me, again, Archetypes according to Dawni, right? That's the book I'm gonna write someday. Archetypes according to Dawni. And actually, at some point, we are going to put all of these together when they're complete and put them into a program, and that's probably what it will be called. That'll be my little disclaimer, according to Dawni. But when a hermit in a really true light is able to go within, meditate, pray, seek wisdom, see patterns, and then bring that back out, whether that is in words, whether that's in writing, in energy work, but they bring it back to the collective. What is the point of only saving ourselves? What is the point of only having knowledge for ourselves if it's not shared? Okay? So if you are someone who you know you have this archetype and you really want to bring it to the light, start looking at how you can use your time alone to then come back and bless the world in one way or another. Do something online. Even if you're a total hermit, introvert, everything, and you get sick from being around people too much, that's the beauty of the internet. You can still bring something out there. Do a blog. You know, I remember when Trinity was little, she was going downstairs every day. And she had to have been 5. Yes, she was 5. And every day she was going down in our unfinished basement where she had set this little spot up for herself. And I had no idea what she was doing there. And finally one day she had some, pens and crayons and papers, and she's going downstairs. And I said, "You going downstairs to do art?" She says, "I'm going downstairs to write scriptures." And that's what she used to do when she was little. She needed time alone, but she would go down and basically channel and write things down, and then she would bring them up and share them with me and with her dad, and then sometimes she'd be like, "Will you put this on Facebook as a message?" It was hilarious and cute, but it was really profound, and it points to the light side of the hermit. Okay, now, as usual, I have to go into what do you do if you have someone else in your life who's a hermit, especially if it's your spouse. Don't shame them for the time they need alone. I can guarantee when you married that person, you knew they were needing some time alone. Maybe you thought it would change, and it hasn't. This is not typically an archetype that changes. If it changes, it means you were just visiting it for a period of time. Okay? So keep in mind, of course, the shadow of this archetype can be visited in times of depression. I'm sure you can already see that context, that part of it. But if you're married to someone who has the hermit archetype, it's time to do some clear communication and maybe some bartering. How much time do you need alone? Will you please communicate in this way when you need time alone? And then make a powerful request. I'm happy to give you time alone. Would you be willing to take me out to dinner Friday night? That would be really lovely for me, and it's important to me that I spend this much time with you. So that they are not feeling shamed for their archetypes, because it is very, very difficult for us to feel like something that is inherently us is wrong. And to help bring them into the light of it, which of course cannot be forced, it has to be their choice, but honoring that it is not, that it's a part of them and that it's not something that's wrong with them that needs to be fixed. But then asking for, hey, when you're done with that, would you be willing to share with me what you've learned? Hey, when you're done with that, would you be willing to teach me that skill? So that you can be cause in the matter of them coming out and sharing that in one way or another, and that will help bring them into the light. If they're in the really deep in the shadow with it, of course, it may need an intervention, but please do it from love, and please understand that this is an inherent part of who they are. And that goes to being gentle with yourself if you are in the shadow of the hermit archetype. I hope this has helped. I'm very curious what you're seeing about this. Is this you? Is this your spouse? Is this your child who needs a ton of time alone? Is this your mother that you grew up feeling bad because she was holed up in her bedroom all the time? Talk to me. Who in your life has this archetype, and what can you see about it? I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. May your coffee be strong and your life be blessed. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And if you would be interested in working with me further, you can check out DawniAngel.com. I would love to come speak to your group, come to your business to do a training, be on your podcast, my personal favorite, or even work with you one-on-one.